This is the Code, Deploy, Go Live podcast, episode 10 with Julie Turner and Andrew Connell. This episode is available as a video on our YouTube channel, which is linked in the show notes. Today, Andrew and I discuss the feature deprecation in hosted services and platforms, as well as how to handle, communicate, and roll out these changes to the users and customers. Recorded live July 14th, 2025. Hey, AC.
How are you doing?
Here we are. We're good. We're good. I think we're good.
It's funny.
I think we're good. We are.
It's even though it's the 10th episode, it's funny how we can fumble over our words at the beginning when you're reading streaming text, but it's like, I don't know, it's like walking up the stairs, you're constantly falling over yourself, even though you're like in your 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever. Yeah,
I feel like I'm not on as much today as I might usually be. So we'll see how this episode goes, because I'm like kind of a hot mess. I'm feeling rather exhausted. I have spent the last like 3 weeks really leaning into strength training, and it's a thing where I full body strength train on Monday, Tuesday's a cardio day, Wednesday is a rest day, Thursday is upper body, Friday is lower body, Saturday is cardio again, and Sunday's a rest day. And I've been doing it for several weeks. So and those rest days are yoga. So I'm not actually resting. I'm doing other things. And yesterday, I took a 4-mile walk on Saturday, and Sunday I did a quote unquote rest day, and I did 45 minutes of yoga. And the whatever one I picked ended up being a lot of like strength movements, like sort of think calisthenics or plyometrics. And by yesterday afternoon, we went in the pool. My husband and I were in the pool. My son was kind of in and out of the pool. And we were like laying out in the back patio doing some barbecue. And I was like, I feel horrible. My whole body is so exhausted. And I'm like, and tomorrow's a strength day. And he's like, my husband's like, why aren't you taking a rest day? And I'm like, because I can't, because this is my thing and I have to do it every day exactly the same. And that is so me, right? Like that I have such a type A personality that I can't even give myself a break. And I kept arguing with myself as I woke up this morning. I'm like, okay, just take a rest day. You need a rest day. You feel horrible. You need a rest day. So I go in to work out and I like do some rolling and stretching or whatever. And I'm like, I'm fine. I can do it. And I knocked out a full body strength training and I feel crappy. And I think my brain feels crappy. So yeah, that's what's going on for me. What's happening to you?
It's funny you were saying that. I feel that. I've done that before, and you get like just the after just the grind of it for a little while, you're just like, oh, I'm beat up. But that's impressive though, if you were able to keep doing that too. When we were in Seattle for our conference a couple of weeks ago. So
there was a lovely gym.
I never saw it. I had every intention of using it and I never saw it. But I'm just now trying to get back in the swing of things with I had 2 conferences that were separated by 1 week, and then had another week separation, and then went on a family vacation for a week last week at the beach. And I went back and looked and was like going, I've done a crappy job staying on top of my running. I've done a crappy job staying on top of the strength training. And so like yesterday, I was like, I am absolutely going out, and I totally performed like I have what the last 5 weeks have been like, last 4 or 5 weeks have been like. So like my running sucked, did not have the pace I was used to or hoping for. And then today like went and hit the gym, and it was tough. But so at the beach last week, and it was in the Gulf of Mexico, and had an interesting experience where I either got like sea fleas, like ocean, like sea fleas, or tentacles from a jellyfish. I never felt anything, but the after effect was apparently it's not uncommon in the Gulf of Mexico. I've never experienced it as many times as I've been in it, but stuff got like, I wear a surf shirt when I'm out because I'm pasty white and I choose to hide from the sun instead of putting a ton of sunscreen on that ends up wearing off much faster than I can get it back on. So anyway, I think stuff got caught in one of my sleeves. And so I've got like one arm that looks like it's not fun, and it kept getting worse. And so now I'm on like finally went to the doctor over the weekend and was like, everything I'm doing isn't making this better. It's getting worse. And they're like, yeah, you need an oral steroid and you need and like a topical steroid. And I was like, great. So my voice sounds like I'm about probably 30 or 40 years older than I am right now. But it's because I'm fine.
Sorry.
If you can see me on camera, you see it's like I'm fine. But my voice is definitely a little weak. But at any rate, one thing I did want to catch up on. So I don't have much to report since the last time we were together. But the one thing I wanted to follow up on was a conversation. Our last conversation in our last episode, on episode 9, we talked about like just some of the differences with like Power Platform isn't the only way that you can customize Microsoft 365. There are developer options as well. And it triggered me to write a LinkedIn post because I think like either that morning or the very next day when I posted it, I had yet another email in my inbox that was just like, hey, look, one of your flows has failed from Power Automate. And I'm like, the most consistent thing I think I get, most consistent email I get is an email from Microsoft saying your Power Automate flows have failed when you've done nothing at all to change them and they've just stopped working. When all I do is log in, hit save, go to that flow, put it in edit mode, hit save, and then it starts working again. And I get it. Nobody respond to this, please, because I get it. I understand the whole thing with like access tokens and all this stuff, but I can't. That platform drives me nuts. So I vented a bit. And in that post, there was a bunch of comments that were left from a couple of people that were saying like, oh, let me go off on my soapbox with this. So a guy named Anthony, who I've known a long time through as one of my students. We've never connected in person, but he's like one of those people that I feel like I know him because we've interacted so much. But he posted a lot of his frustrations with it. Some other people posted some frustrations. But then one of our friends, Wes Preston, who is big in Power Apps, and I believe Power Automate as well, he posted, I don't want to call it a rebuttal. He posted a LinkedIn newsletter called Power Apps, One Option for Extending Microsoft 365. And I think like the article started with, this note is in response to Andrew Connell and Julie Turner's YouTube video on episode 9, blah, blah. And I wrote back to him and I was like going, I don't think we're really too far off. I think that I might have misphrased it and kind of mischaracterized things. It's not that I think that that Power Platform is not the only option for doing Microsoft 365 dev. My fundamental frustration is that Microsoft has pushed the message so hard with customers, either from the field sales group. We had some exchanges with some other people on LinkedIn that they were like, oh, this is absolutely not the case. People understand that there's differences. And I'm like, I get that's what you think, but I'm Julie and I are in the trenches. We see it. I mean, just sitting from that conference that we were at 2 weeks ago in Seattle was blatantly obvious. My frustration is Microsoft, essentially their message from a company-wide perspective is there's one option. And then there's these small little group over in the corner that's kind of screaming from the back of the room, like going, no, there's still a developer option. And it's just, it doesn't get out there. So I wanted to call those things out because it's a good kind of like, okay, you got one side of the story. Here's another side of the story. If last week's episode or I guess the last episode 9, resonated with you, I just wanted to throw that out there. So, sorry, you want to say something to that?
Well, I was just going to say Wes's post was great and spot on. So I want to make sure that we're really clear while we're recording here that everything he said was well said. I respect Wes a ton. I don't disagree with anything he said at all. I thought it was really well written. I just feel like the Power Platform has so many evangelists that it's maybe okay for us to evangelize the fact that there are other options. And I think neither you nor I ever intended to imply that that wasn't an option. It's just a frustrating option sometimes and is not as enterprise grade as I would want it to be.
Yes. Yep. That's fair.
All I want to summarize with.
And I think that's totally fair. So, yeah, I agree. I got so much more I want to say on this, but I'm not going to turn it into episode 9B. But so
platform 11 3/4.
Yeah, I think I've got like this whole like theme of articles that I want to write right now over just my thoughts on it, because I just feel like when I talk about it, I was like, oh, he hates Power Platform. And I'm like, you know what? I need a body of work that can just point to and go like, no, that's what I think. If you want the summary of it, there's a summary. But if you really want my thoughts on it, that's what I think. So I'm inspired to do that now. I just need to find the time. The only other thing I'll throw out there is a big week for me because, and one more thing on that is that you and I are both going to be at the TechCon 365 conference in Atlanta in about 5 weeks from now. It's in early August or mid-ish August. One of the sessions that I'm doing, or one of the workshops I'm doing at that conference is is a co-present workshop. I don't think I've ever done this, but I'm doing it with a guy named Mark Rackley, who we both know really well. And we're doing it on the Copilot extensibility story. Mark is going to own the Copilot Studio side, which is to me like Power Platform. And then I'm going to do it from the developer side. So using the Agents Toolkit, which formerly known as the Teams Toolkit, to talk about building agents as declarative agents with Visual Studio Code or custom engine agents. And we're going to do a lot of like, here's what you can do in this, here's what you can do in this, here's a Venn diagram, where do things overlap? There's a lot of places where they don't, and we're going to go back and forth each other. The dirty little secret of that is that neither one of us really understand each other's world all like at an expert level. So
that's fantastic.
We're coming up with an outline. It's kind of nice because in one sense, we know we're going to have way too much content to cover in a day, but I only am really responsible for 50% of it. And the other 50% of it is Mark. And a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, a lot of stuff he's talking about is all going to be driven based on my questions to him. So it's going to be, the whole point is to get an audience in the room and be like, here's all your options. And hopefully it's interactive. They ask a bunch of questions to say like, which one is the right thing for which story. The last thing I'll say is that this week, by the time this episode comes out, it'll be like hot off the presses about to start. But I'm doing a 2-day virtual workshop on building declarative agents starting on Wednesday, July the 16th, and Wednesday 16th and July the 17th. It's going to be recorded. It's going to be like the basis of a self-paced course, on-demand course that I'll start offering really soon. But the point with that is just it's another workshop that I do at conferences, but I just want to do it as a virtual workshop as well with the latest and greatest stuff. So that's what my week looks like. Yeah.
All right. Should we move on to news?
I think we can move on to the news. Yes.
Awesome. Well, I'll kick off. So I have just a few little things, some roadmap things I noticed in this last week that I thought I would bring up. One is a roadmap number 422308. Essentially, it says Microsoft Copilot lists in context IQ. Wicked vague, but basically it says users will be able to search for and select SharePoint lists through the Context IQ menu to help ground their prompts when using Copilot chat. And so the big question, of course, is what the heck is Context IQ? Turns out all it is grounding. Essentially, when you're in the chat, there's a little plus button in there. You can hit the plus button, and then it gives you some things you can add. And I think most people are used to seeing, oh, well, I can add a file or whatever. Well, lists is going to come to that. What is unclear and what we're still trying to sort of noodle out is what that actually will mean. I mean, I think we could assume that it would mean if I add grounding or context IQ to my query in a list that all the metadata of the list items would be part of that query. But does it mean only the metadata items in the default view? Does it mean all the metadata items of the list? Does it mean, you know what I mean? Like it could be very varied on what that actually means. I think we should rejoice that lists are coming in at all, but there is some real questions about what that might actually mean. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I suspect, because usually Context IQ is going to get fed from, stuff that goes in what used to be called Microsoft Graph connectors and are now called Copilot connectors. That content is made available to Copilot, to Search and Intelligence, or through Search and Intelligence in the Admin Center, in the M365 Admin Center, and Context IQ. So I don't think it has anything to do with the views. My understanding is that it's going to be just that means that it's going to say, hey, list content is now going to be in the semantic index, because now it's going to give us a semantic search, which is what Copilot's going to use. And by being able to use that little plus icon to add that in a Copilot chat, that's effectively like if you're building a declarative agent, you can say like, here's knowledge, and I want to add this specific like filtered knowledge like we can with like a SharePoint document library, or all content, all documents in a SharePoint site, all documents in a SharePoint site collection or a OneDrive folder. So
I understand that part, but I think what I mean more specifically is we can add documents from a document library right now, but not its metadata. So what is not clear is what they're going to index in. Are now files and their metadata going to be indexed together? Like, is that going to, so, you know what I'm saying? So technically I hear what you're saying. What I mean is in practice, what is actually going to get indexed? And it's not clear by this one sentence thing what that's going to mean. Like, so when I said, is it going to just be the metadata listed in the default view? I mean, when they scan to add that to the semantic index, are they going to use all metadata? Like, so am I going to get the content type of the list items, for example?
Yeah.
Because almost no one ever shows that in a view, but it is metadata on those list items. And if it is the list items, should we also then hope or assume, we never should assume, because you know what that does, that we're going to get the metadata on files, because that would be really helpful and really important. And it's kind of like a myth. So that's where my big question is still sitting.
Interesting when it said that the rollout's going to start in September. So that's like right before Ignite. So it said this feature right now on the roadmap says in development. So they're working on it. I'm kind of surprised that it's actually listed in development right now. It's like it's a little late here, but at least they're doing it.
We're Mark Anderson and I had a conversation about that. We both went, really? September? It's in development and ready in September. Okay. I mean, we'll see. So yes, there's some cynicalness we're having on that one. But anyway.
Cool.
All right. My next one is another roadmap item, 487428, for those that are interested. Microsoft Teams is getting a custom dictionary. So this reads, tenant administrators can now upload a custom dictionary through M365 Admin Portal's Copilot settings page to include tenant-specific terminologies. This enhancement improves entity recognition in Teams meeting transcripts, benefiting both Recap and Copilot's understanding of the content. Okay. Apparently, if you read a little bit more on this, you shouldn't be using like abbreviations, but okay. I guess. Isn't this topics? Sorta? Wasn't this the promise of topics?
Yeah, topics was that Viva feature that got cut
Viva
because
topics.
Apparently Copilot was going to replace it.
But maybe they needed some features of it.
Maybe does that mean that Microsoft's content documentation will start putting a capital P on SharePoint and not hyphenating the co from the pilot?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, this is
anyway.
Nice. This is nice.
Yeah.
I do this like with the thing that with like some AI stuff that I use and helping like using my own like grammar checks and my own like copywriting or proofreading of my content that I write. I have the same kind of thing. I have like a bulleted list of like, here's the primary term, the next one down that's got brackets around it. Here's the acronym for it. And then here's all the other ways you can say it. And that's legit. And they all mean the same thing. But this is what it should be. It should be one of these. It shouldn't be like a lowercase M365. It should be capital M365. And that stands for Microsoft 365. So, and there's a space in there. So, all right. I mean, hey, cool. I guess that starts to roll out. That's rolling out right now, rolling out in July. So,
Yep. So I think you can do this now. So,
cool. Wait, did you have another one?
Well, we have another one.
Oh, yeah, we do. Just saw that.
Yeah. So, do you want to? It was yours kind of originally. We sort of both worked on it. You want to start? I don't know what the context is, quite honestly.
Okay. So Microsoft is rolling out a new, let's just call it a new page experience. I guess you called it a new page experience. So if I want to create a new page in SharePoint Online, there is now a templating feature, there was, and now it's kind of like a revamped templating feature where when I would say, I want to create a new page, it would give me all of these different page templates that I could choose from to start the page I want to create beautiful sites. Cool. You and I are going to have the same opinion on this based on how this totally threw me for a loop when I saw it. And I know that it's not the first time that I had a chance to see it, but it's the first one I really did see. First time I did see it. But now when you go to create a new page, it immediately takes over the entire page except for the sweet bar and just says, pick a template from the gallery. And it's kind of a crappy experience if you decide, nope, that's not what I want.
Yeah, it is.
It did some other things too, because if you did go to create a brand new page before, you had not only the option to create a page from a template. Now we have this big page that takes over the whole screen that does that. Whereas before it was like a side panel that came in and took up like 75, 80% of the page. But it also previously gave us the option to click on a tab for like apps, and I could choose from a web part that was deployed as Microsoft calls it a full page app page, but basically a single page app. To where we would get a new web part page with a canvas that had a single, would allow you to specify a single web part and no other content on the page. And so if you ever put the page in edit mode, the web part was in edit mode, so the property pane was just for that web part. It's a great way to roll out like a single page app.
100%.
All of a sudden that disappeared. Well, sorry, it didn't disappear, but that no longer was the default experience when you said new page. Now, thank you to you, you told me that, hey, if you click the cog in the top right, otherwise known as site settings for us old schoolers, and then pick add page, that will now go to the old experience.
Yes. So just for clarity, when this new experience comes from when you're on the home page of a site and you click new there, you get add page as one of the options. That add page is this new experience that takes up the full page, has no close button, and only gives you Microsoft's page templates. I don't want to say this definitively because maybe I just didn't have a custom template in the places where I checked. I think, though, that the custom templates, if you have any custom templates, they're not there either. I don't know that definitively, though. I need to double check that. But anyway, it's not a great experience. So just to clarify where that new thing is, it's there.
Fundamentally, the thing that gets under my skin about this is that, number one, we now have two different experiences for creating a new page. Neither one of them are the same. Neither one of them show the same thing. Neither one of them show me the same source of content that I can choose from. It looks like to me, the one from the site settings menu, the old one, they forgot to say, oh crap, there's another way we can actually send this link. And so they were going to send that that link needs to be updated to use the new template page, which means we will lose the single page app, the SPA version of a web part with the SharePoint framework. And yet another thing that they're going to sit there. I don't know. We don't know if that's going to happen, but it looks like
I think it's I think it's an oversight. I 100% think it's an oversight, but it just doesn't send a good message. More about Microsoft's testing of their own features. That's the thing that's been getting me, is just how much it feels like has been rolling out in the last, and I've literally been talking about this probably for, I want to say 2 years, but maybe even as many as 3 years, a sort of downward spiral of quality as far as like things are rolled out, they're getting to GA and having to be pulled back quickly because they're just fundamentally broken in the most obvious ways that I just don't understand how they're getting out as far as they're getting out, but whatever. I don't.
And they're not following their whole targeted release and general release
that too.
Stuff and everything. This is just, it's stupid. Like the quality side of Microsoft 365, specifically over in the SharePoint world, is pretty crappy right now.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so I got a handful. I'm sorry. Do you want to say anything else?
Yeah, no. Let's hit the other news so we can get into the meat of the episode here.
So a couple things, little quick things I think devs might be interested in. You may be familiar with the state of JavaScript or the state of CSS or those different state of surveys that go around annually. They decided to do one for just the state of devs, of developers. And the results from the 2025 survey are out. This is interesting because it does, like, we've got things about like a breakdown in demographics. So who answered it? There's over 8,000 people that answered it. 26% from the United States, and then everything else is below 10%, but it goes like the UK, Germany, France, Canada, Netherlands, Spain, Australia, Poland, and then goes farther down. But it's cool because you find out like, what is their relationship status? What is race and ethnicity, race, and then gender. So a couple things like that. It then goes on to things about like career. So like, how many people have you worked for? Are you what kind of workplace issues do you deal with? Discrimination, negative impact. Have you been affected by layoffs? Size of the company, number of times you had to apply for different jobs, remote work, finding work. When do you work? How happy you are at work? Interesting stuff too that I found as pretty interesting here around health. How old are you? Disability status, health issues, sleep quality, sleep strategies. And then there's also stuff about like hobbies, physical activity, music, favorite movies, favorite TV shows, video game platforms, etc. So I found it to be interesting, just kind of nice to see like, hey, it's other developers. Let's see what everybody else is doing. Where do I fit in this? And how am I a outlier, or am I kind of more a reflection on what other developers who have responded to this, are they in the same boat? It doesn't tell you anything. It just is. It's interesting. I think it's interesting to look at for developers.
Yeah, it's like it's helping ground people that are typically in a more disconnected type of job into what their peers are maybe feeling and thinking. So I think there's good that could come of that, especially if we are aware of mental health.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so there's another one from Cloudflare. They've released a new product to where you can actually, if you use Cloudflare, which is think of it almost as like an easy way to set up like a proxy in front of your website or your content. They've introduced a pay per crawl. So essentially, if they detect that an AI indexer for like training a model is indexing your content, you can basically block it until they are actually paying you to get access to your content. Now, I don't know how valuable this is. Like, I see a couple different things that are good and bad about this. I've started watching my metrics a little bit closer to see like, where's my content being indexed? What bots are actually indexing the content on my site? And where's my company showing up in some of the responses from things like ChatGPT, Anthropic, Perplexity, etc., Gemini, etc. But anyway, they've introduced this as a new feature, and I'm sure this would be useful for some companies like maybe like a New York Times or other media companies that are not happy about having their content being used in some of the training data. So I found this to be interesting. Curious to see where this goes. I've got a couple of things here around Microsoft 365. So I've got a bug that is now on the SharePoint framework side that was announced, that was posted back in June and has since been confirmed. And we don't have an update though on what engineering is doing. Basically, if you're using the SharePoint framework, any version, and you're using pretty much any browser, and you use the dialogue framework from the SharePoint framework, which leverages the dialogues from the Fluent UI libraries, there's an inconsistent behavior where if you have an input box in the dialogue, you can't get focus on it. If you refresh the page, sometimes it fixes it. But otherwise, you simply, if you have a dialogue that you're using to pop in a dialogue to go try and collect input from someone on as a modal dialogue, it might not work. And so kind of crappy experience there. Known bug is issue number 10310 in the SP Dev Docs issues list, linked in the show notes, which again are available in the show notes, and they will also be emailed to everybody who subscribes to our newsletter when a new episode comes out.
I would just want to comment, don't use it. Use the HTML dialogue element.
Agree.
Okay, that's all I need to say.
I can't stand these, like when people reinvent the wheel, and it's like going, oh, hey, look, here's this. We talked about that with sharing code too in libraries. So,
I mean, in defense, there wasn't dialogue. Well, dialogue's not that recent, but it wasn't around and couldn't be used in IE 11. So there's history where you couldn't use the HTML dialogue element, but now you can, and you should be. And, H2O, the solution that, or the framework that Stefan and I build on, based on the Fluent Design, Microsoft Fluent Design, we use dialogue because it's just a better way instead of doing the DOM injection that this element does. Anyway, okay, let's move on.
There's a bug in Microsoft Teams. I don't think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but there's a bug in Teams where you can't do side loading with Teams through the UX. In other words, if you have a app that you're working on and you want to upload it and test it out, you can't do that because there's a bug in the Teams clients, web, desktop, Mac, Windows, doesn't matter. You simply can't upload it. It shows a weird kind of an issue where you can't. It says you need a certain permission from your IT administrator. And then if you resize the client, you can get the button to kind of go away. But if you then click the ... to open it, then it's not disabled. When you click on that, the pop-up shows up to go upload the item and nothing shows up in the pop-up. So they've acknowledged it's a bug. They say that it's getting fixed. And of course, just like it seems like with everything with Microsoft right now, they tell us like, oh, hey, it's rolling out. It's in R3 and R4 rings, and there'll be an R4 by July 21st. And I'm like, what the hell is R3, R4, these different rings here? And how am I supposed to know what these are? And is there a public tracker? And they're like, no, there's no public tracker. And these are the internal terms we use. I'm like, they're the internal terms. Why the hell are you using them with me, who's not internal, in a public GitHub repo? What's the ETA on it? Oh, we're not really sure. Like, oh my God. Anyway, so a little frustrating there. Microsoft 365 can learn so much from another company that builds Azure on rolling out stuff like this. I also just going to include some links here. I'm not going to go through all this stuff, but like there's the what's new in Microsoft Teams from June 2025. There's things around meetings, webinars, Teams phone, workplace, some security stuff, frontline worker stuff, and certified Teams devices. There is also a post just like this about Copilot. What's new in Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot, June 2025. There's things about the control system, about usage metrics and management and cost controls in the Mac and the Microsoft Admin Center. Sorry, Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And there's a ton of stuff around user capabilities. So we talked about Content IQ earlier. There's an intelligence assistant with Copilot, with Context IQ and Copilot Chat that's been updated. New functionality in Copilot for Edge, for Outlook, memory in Copilot, transferring call summaries with Copilot and Teams phones, new file extension for Copilot pages, a bunch of stuff there that everybody can take a look at. And the last big one more thing about Copilot is that they've announced the general availability of Copilot Search is now generally available. It's an AI-powered search experience that should be generally available around the time this episode comes out. It says mid-July 2025 for eligible users. And what it does is it integrates the Copilot app across all platforms, leveraging graph and connectors for personalized, context-aware answers. So that is rolling out now. That's in the message center. And my last bit of news that I have is another one of these big, hey, what's new in June 2025, this time with Azure AI Foundry. This one has stuff around new models like the O3 Pro Enterprise Reasoning, to where you can go deeper on like understanding and doing like deep research on stuff. Video generation using the Sora model from OpenAI is now available as a public preview in Foundry. The Codex Mini lightweight coding assistant is now available. It's available in OpenAI as in the Azure OpenAI. There are also Grok 3 and Grok 3 Mini models available. There's a bunch of stuff around agents. So there's MCP support is in preview. A SharePoint tool integration is also available in preview. That's where basically SharePoint being a tool, or in the declarative agents term, we call that a skill or an action. But that allows basically saying, hey, I can go read into SharePoint. You'll get some data from SharePoint. Multi-agent orchestration and workflows, unified semantic kernel and autogen runtime, agent catalogs with the samples, a healthcare orchestrator. There's a bunch of other tools that were added, and enhanced VS Code extension, tracing agents. Guys, a bunch in the Azure AI Foundry stuff. So I'll include a link to this in the show notes. I could have done almost an entire episode on this, but I figured, I don't know, I'd be curious if people want to just let me know, like, are you interested in hearing, like, here's all the stuff that's new, like in Azure AI Foundry, and we cover that in one of our episodes. But there's a lot in that one that will go pretty long if we keep doing that one. So
understood. Does that wrap up news?
That is finally
done and dusted.
Finally, it does. Yes, we can now move on to the whole reason we have a show.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like, let's hit it. All right. So today's show, we wanted to sort of just have a conversation. This was instigated because of some feedback we got on one of our previous episodes talking about the deprecation of field customizers, or the potential, and now we're not so sure what is going to happen with all that, but the potential deprecation of SharePoint Framework field customizers. And there was someone who responded, and I want to read what they responded, because I think there's an aspect of this that we could sort of talk about in a little more detail. So the comment was, does this, and I should preface this by this person's first language is not English, so it's a little tricky to read. Does the critique from developers miss the point about why Microsoft might need to drop older features? It could be for the sake of keeping the platform secure, easier to maintain, or to help people switch to newer tech in the fast-changing Microsoft 365 world. Instead of seeing this move as a betrayal, it might actually be a tough but necessary step in cloud growth. Really good question. I mean, honestly, in the sense of the SharePoint Framework field customizers, I don't think that is the case. Like, as we discussed in that episode, there was a contract that we had about the ways that we were going to be able to extend the platform. And the betrayal there is around, we had an agreement, and there was not if there was a good reason, if there was like hey, we found that this has a security implication or whatever, that would be fine, but that wasn't the case. So in that scenario, it isn't a valid statement, but in a lot of scenarios, it is. I mean, when we're talking about software as a service, the idea that things are going to be constantly changing and that things are going to need to be deprecated is absolutely something that I think needs to happen. So, I don't I don't disagree with the idea of it. I just think that there's ways that a provider of a SaaS platform can go about communicating and deprecating things so that the people are not taken by such surprise. It's, you know what I mean? It's like, so in my mind, the primary one is to provide alternatives. If you have a feature that you want to deprecate for whatever reason, you need to provide an alternative, and you need to provide a way for people to move to that alternative. I think that's pretty much the most critical piece of this.
So I don't necessarily disagree with you, and I think it's a fair question for the person for the person that had the reaction and to bring up. I think my fundamental issue with the reason we're talking about this is, like you said, is because Microsoft kind of out of the blue announced something was being retired, deprecated and retired, and the replacement they were providing was like, there was no context onto why they were doing it. They said, here's what we're doing, we're done. And there was no like, how is it going to impact you and stuff. And then the suggestions they said to move to this other option here, they never really said, the options they gave us were not a full feature parity with the stuff that was being removed. It is totally up to Microsoft, being the provider of the platform, or anybody that has a platform and a service, to retire stuff as they see fit for whatever reason that they want to do it. We're paying for something on a subscription-based service, and frankly, if you don't like it, go somewhere else. The issue that really, I think that I see that really got under our skin for this is, like you said, one, they had a very established contract on how we were supposed to be doing things, and I get there's little features that are not as used scattered throughout different things. So let's just take SharePoint Framework, for example. There's little things that are not used by hardly anybody. And they may decide, hey, we're going to shut this down for various reasons. Or like with add-ins, the old add-in model, or the SharePoint 2013 workflows, we're going to shut this down because we need to get off this old stuff, which is not secure and is not sustainable. That's perfect. That makes perfect sense. And maybe the solution that you're going to come up with is not going to give us feature parity on what that thing is. But the thing that they don't do a good job of right now, that specifically Microsoft 365 is not doing a good job of, is giving enough of a heads up when this stuff happens, explaining the why. Because I think as an educator, I always think that if you understand the why behind something, it really does help you understand, like, okay, if I understand why we're doing this, I have a better chance of buying into it, or at least I understand. I may not agree with you, but at least I understand why you're doing it. And if I'm trying to come up with another solution to something I'm trying to do, the why may tell me you should look twice at what you're doing, because maybe you shouldn't be doing that. And I'm using a feature, I'm trying to find a replacement for. Let's go old school. I did timer jobs with on-prem SharePoint on-prem, and like, hey, you can't do those anymore. I'm like, well, how do I do that in SharePoint Online? Like, you can't. Like, well, why not? I need to be able to do that for these other solutions here. And it's like, because we can't host your code in the cloud, because if you do, then you can potentially create that noisy neighbor problem where your code can bring down a SharePoint environment that affects other people in the same hardware. We can't give you that kind of access. Plus, we also can't open that much of the platform up to developers, especially when it's a hosted platform. Okay, I understand where you're going with this. It allows you to iterate faster, innovate faster. Okay, I got it. So the problem I was facing earlier, I can't deal with it. Got it. Same thing. Event receivers. We had synchronous event receivers or remote event receivers. So I could block something from happening that was being added to a SharePoint list or updated to a SharePoint list or document library. Now there's no way to do that because those are now gone, and there's no way to do a synchronous based event that is where we can, as a developer, cancel it. Okay, fine. I know people still want to do that. I still see the complaints coming up about it, but you look at it and say, like, nobody allows you to do this right now. Like, nobody, well, not nobody, but for the most part, you can't stop a platform from acting the way it is. You could just be told, here's a change that happened to the platform and what it already supports. The thing that really gets under my skin about the way that Microsoft is handling the more recent issues we've been having with Microsoft 365 and the deprecation of features is that when they announced the deprecation and or the retirement with a shorter than would be desired implementation for customers to react, this really didn't start until they started going first they started really leaning into that security first or secure future initiative and the zero trust stuff, which is important. I get it. They were locking stuff down because things got a little lax over at Microsoft and then they got hacked and like, oh, we better get our ducks in a row. I get it. I understand you want to do that stuff fast, but you can't go through and say we're retiring something or we're deprecating something without the full story or without giving us the why. And then also, if you're going to have a replacement, giving us the full replacement at the time of the deprecation. Really crappy way they've rolled one of those things out. The deprecation of isolated web parts. They announced that a little over a year ago. And the only thing they said at the time was, we're working on a solution for you. And the deprecation is going to be done in 2 years. We're 50% of the way into it. And we still don't know what that solution is going to be. And they're like, hey, you should just start migrating away from isolated web parts. We're like, to what?
Yeah.
Well, like the guidance they're telling people is start migrating off of them. I'm like, don't migrate off of them. Take stock of what you have. Think twice about building something new. Like with field customizers, they announced the retirement of those and they walked it back because they got publicly flogged. I don't know about you, but I don't have a ton of confidence going forward in any of the extensions except for app customizers right now, just because Microsoft has already tipped their hand of what they want to do. They only caved because they had a really crappy way of rolling it out. I wouldn't be surprised if they come back within the next month, 2, 3, 6 and say, we are retiring field customizers. And so now someone's like, would you use them? I'm like, I'm not so sure I would recommend it to somebody, but if a customer wanted to do it, I'm like, hey, look, cards on the table. These things might get retired just like everything else, but these might really be retired because Microsoft has already shown their hand that they don't have a good staying power with this. Command set extensions, same thing in the SharePoint framework. Who does do a good job with this? And this is the part that really gets under my skin. Azure.
Yeah.
You're going to retire something, they give you a year or 2 notice it's doing it, and they're like, this is going away. Here's why. Here's what you can go to. Like right now, they're retiring a bunch of CDN stuff because of some industry standards that have changed that we have to migrate. That's a little acute for me because I know that you did yours already and you told me it's really easy. And I'm getting all the emails now going,
not bad. Yeah.
But when they do it too, they tell you, here's the subscription where you are using this resource so that you can go in and you can go find what am I supposed to do? And then they give you this, like a lot more steps of here's how you get off of the old stuff onto the new stuff. Make it easy for me to make your deprecation easier.
Yeah, that you are hitting everything on the head of exactly what I feel about this. It's like you can't say field customizers are being deprecated and say, oh, use command sets. It shows, column formatting. It shows a lack of understanding by whomever put that notice out that they don't even understand what they're deprecating. Like there was no, they implied in that deprecation notice that would be a full-featured replacement when it isn't. And it was just so lack of awareness. And to your point, this is a common thing that happens where there's this deprecation without a good way to find things, without a good way to replace things. It just sort of leaves people, and they wonder why people have this sort of, well, we don't want to take on or adopt anything new from Microsoft because they'll pull it away. And I think they're seeing that more and more. I mean, they're talking about the fact that they want to put out these new features and they wait to see if there's adoption to decide whether they're going to keep them or not. Yet they're not full featured when they come out or full enough that people could really start using them. And they've created a level of chaos in the adoption of new technology because people are gun shy about adopting technology when if not enough people also jump on board to a very V1 product, that it won't last. And add insult to injury, they're not giving us APIs to implement those features. So there's not even a way for us to, as practitioners of the platform, say, okay, well, they've given us an MVP, and I don't mean that as in most valuable player, an MVP of a piece of functionality for the platform. It doesn't meet all my needs, but man, this is the right direction. And if I had some APIs, I could extend it and make it what I need now, waiting for Microsoft to take it to the next level. A great example of this is a customer that I worked on and a ton of other MVPs worked on. When SharePoint Framework first dropped, the version 1 of what you could do in web parts was very, very
V1
flight. Like, it was very V1. And there was a very progressive organization that hired a bunch of really smart people and said, hey, this is the future. We know it's going to be the future. I'm going to hire some very smart people to push the limits of this really hard. And they did. They pushed the limits of it really hard. And they were doing stuff way in advance of what the SharePoint framework could support at that time. And as the SharePoint framework came up under it, they would, replace, and they understood they had technical debt, and they would replace it and they would move on. But hey, guess what? By having that extensibility ability, they were able to gain adoption and gain traction because people could extend it further. And that's what having a development environment and an API landscape allows us to do. And so if you're going to introduce things in the UI that has no API backend, we have no way to value add that feature to get people to adopt it early when they need more than what your V1 can do. I totally understand why Microsoft needs to limit what their V1 footprint looks like, because they aren't sure yet, right? They're building a platform for billions of people that use it, and you're not going to be able to get it right at the very beginning. So the idea that they would put out a minimal viable product to have people get started on it is fine. And I have no problem with it, but then give us the APIs so we can make it more right from the get-go. And I know that they would see adoption go up on some of these initiatives.
If that's what they want. And that's the thing that that's the thing that I now question. And I know that there are people who are working on APIs on the Microsoft 365 side, but their actions speak a lot louder than their words. Their actions are not just recent. Their actions are longstanding and happen over and over and over. And fundamentally, from an organization point of view, definitely not from certain individuals that are in there, but from an organizational point of view, they are not a feature-first company. They are a feature-first organization. They are not an API-first organization to see people really start to take advantage of what they're building and see. You want more people to use Copilot? Ship with a way to go through and extend it out of the box, and to give us a way to create our own scenarios and our own solutions with this. At the beginning, when Copilot first came out, it's like it's a way to talk to all of your data. Like, okay, I know you got to rush into it, but let's go through and do some of the really let's see some of the really more sophisticated stuff. Then they come out with researcher. They come out with the transcription agent, or they come out with the facilitator agent. It's like these are all things that developers could have built, and so you weren't just limited just to your imagination of what you wanted to come up with. We talked about this in an episode. We talked about APIs more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They definitely could do a better job on the way that they're rolling some changes out, and the way that they're trying to communicate deprecations. They are entitled to doing that with their platform, to be able to move forward, to add new stuff, to drop things that are not being used as much. Maybe there's a feature that I absolutely love and I think it's a huge deal, and it's like, no, sorry, we're not doing it. It's like, I mean, I get it, but yeah, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, to come back to sort of the point of it, it's a communication thing. It's the way they communicate these things that's the real problem, I would say. And not so much that they are doing it, it's how they're doing it.
Yep, I concur. Totally agree.
Cool. More we want to say on that subject?
I mean, that's the hard part about this topic is like you and I have talked about the whole API story before, and then we talked about the SharePoint Framework one before, and then we talked about it today. And I mean, I could keep complaining and complaining and complaining about it. I'm like, I think we've proven our point or said quite a bit about the point that we wanted to cover. And I think just from here, it's just like, just know what you're getting into if you do that, when you start doing this stuff. And this is just the way they are, and they could just wish they would be better with it, but I don't know. They've just shown no interest in and trying to improve on this, and their reactions just don't make sense to me. So, their reactions to me say they don't get it. They fundamentally don't get it, or they fundamentally don't have the same approach of what I see. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't a place for where I want to build something on top of your platform. I'd rather just kind of use it out of the box. So now we could go on to the whole conversation about Power Platform again. So I think we've beaten this horse pretty well. Yeah, we need to probably move on from it. That's probably true. We need to put it to bed. I love it. You say, is there anything else that we need to say? No, not really. Let me go on for another 5 minutes. Exactly. I'm really done. All right. Should we move on to picks then, or? Yes. Let's do our pick. All right. Let's do them. You're first. My show, you're first. Okay. Sorry to keep going on the same theme, but this is like a 2 or 3 minute video. I believe it was by somebody at Microsoft. His name is Jeffrey Richter. And it's, how does Azure version their APIs or their services? And all I will tell you is go back before you start watching the video. Think about how Microsoft Graph has done their versioning in the URL. And if you've never used Azure versioning, Azure Services versioning, they do it by putting it's a date stamp in a query string value to do their API, and they explain why. And I wish this link was available or this video was available when we did our API discussion, but I'm just going to leave it there and just say, go watch it. It's really short. It's really good. I watched this and was like going, I'm going to sit on this and try and hide this from Julie until I can share it as a pick, because this one would have been really good to reference back then. So that's one of them. The other thing I'll reference here, there are 2 tools that I use on my Mac that I absolutely love. And they're super, super, one of them from a developer's point of view is my terminal. It's fast. It's tons of great features in it. You don't think you need a bunch of features for your terminal, but it is. It's nice to be able to have, like, if I run a command and I get a response back, I can just right-click the block where the command that I ran and the response is there. I can right-click it and say, copy the output and paste it somewhere else. I can tab through the experiences. I can have it do a transcription. The tool I use for that is called Warp, W-A-R-P. They've recently, I need to add this to our links. I'm just realizing that. But they've started a Windows version of it that people can use. So it's a free terminal. There's a way you can pay for it, but it's got a bunch of AI stuff that's in it as well. So you can be like, how do I go do this? And how do I delete a remote branch in GitHub using just the command line? The one that I really want to call out, though, is one called Raycast. So if you use like search in Windows, or if you're on a Mac and you use Spotlight, or you're familiar with tools like Alfred, Raycast is incredibly useful. It has a whole like extension model plugins. You basically hit for on Mac, you hit Command Space. For Windows, I think it would be Control Space. But it brings up a command that you just start typing what are you looking for, or you want to run a command. So I use it for like quick little notes, text snippets. If I want to find the color for our podcast, the primary or secondary color, I could just go through and hit Command Space, code deploy, and it shows everything. It matches it. I find a color. I just use the arrow down key a little bit and then hit enter, and it copies the hex code right onto my clipboard. They've just started a waitlist for their Windows version of Raycast. And you can go sign up to be on the wait list to try it out. Absolutely awesome, because it also works across iOS as well, which is really nice for being able to have like just those snippets that you use all over the place.
Neat. Very cool. I will have to check them out. That's not something I have ever used, so that'll be interesting.
Cool.
Or, that's not a thing I've ever used. Excuse me.
How about you?
Well, I'm back on my cooking theme because I spent some time outdoors doing some grill cooking this weekend, and I thought maybe good to bring up some of my couple of favorite barbecuing blends right now. I switched a long time ago from Penze's to the Spice House for ordering my spices. So there's reasons, I don't want to go into it, but I switched. They're both good though. So I'm not saying the quality of the product is better or worse. I just decided that I wanted to work with the Spice House more. And so I switched to them, and I buy a lot of spices from online. If you saw my spice cabinet, you would be in shock and awe. It's quite extensive. The two that I'm using the most right now, the first one is the Chipotle Garlic Barbecue Blend. This is the most yummy. It's spicy, so it's not for like the non-spice lovers. This is not for you, but it's got that smoky Chipotle backbone with a hint of sweetness. And it's got that oregano, and it's, salty. Like, it's just everything you want in the, like, I just want to quickly season. For me, I would do pork or beef or chicken with it. And you just want that spicy, smoky flavor for your grilled meat. So I love this one. This is one of my go-tos. This is my like, ooh, mom's going to have her own little thing going on. Even my son will eat this though, because I'll make, and I've even started throwing it in chili in the wintertime, because I'm like, oh, I'll have some of this in my chili because it just gives a sort of different vibe to it. So that's one that I'm loving. The second one is, this is polarizing because, especially if you're from the South, fried chicken is, it's a thing. So I'm not trying to say this is like the end all be all. I'm saying I love it, and it's really delicious, and it gives me a way to sort of get a really well-seasoned piece of chicken. So I used this actually last night. We did chicken thighs and leg sections, and I just doused my them in this, and then we grilled them off low and slow to get a nicely rendered skin. But it's a fried chicken seasoning that is a little bit spicy, but in general, it's just really savory and really delicious. And it's a fairly new one for them. And I ordered it on like a whim, and I'm so glad I did, because it's definitely in my rotation. I'm using it a couple of times a week on whatever we're cooking. So loving this one. So these are the two. I have others. There's tons of others that I use regularly, but these are the two that I'll pick for this week. I'll probably add some for next time, but these are two I have.
They sound good. Definitely sound good.
Super delish. So those are my picks. What do we think? Did we cover it all?
I think we did. I think we might have beat the horse to. You know what? I'm curious. I do think we covered it all. I wonder if we should, and I'm going to open this, I'm asking you this while we're doing the recording so that we can get our listeners to jump in and give us their thoughts on this.
Sure.
I'm wondering if they want to hear like news episodes or discussion episodes instead of doing both of them in the same kind of frame like this, because I think that we could probably, we could have would you like a shorter episode that's just covering the news, like what Julie and I did at the beginning, and then have a shorter episode that's more on a feature or what?
Yeah.
We're trying to do both of them at once, and finding now that we have enough news that we're catching up on and seeing stuff in the kind of starting to hit our stride. It's like, okay, what would you like to hear?
I agree.
So
it's hard to go deep on a topic with so much news, because we'll run out of time, or we'll be like a 2-hour episode, which I don't think either of us wants to get there. So, it's a good question.
So let us know. I mean, you'll find us all over the place. In the show notes, you'll find links to how you can find us on socials, LinkedIn, Blue Sky. Leave us a comment on either one of those. Leave a comment directly to us. Leave it to on the podcast feed. There's drop a comment on the episode on
YouTube episode
channel.
too.
Yeah, just there's tons of places you can leave a comment. We're going to see all of them. just make sure you send it to, or like subscribe to the newsletter and just hit, when you subscribe to the newsletter, just hit reply at the end. Like, what do you think? Do you like the shorter ones or not? And just, if you like, see it broken up. So let us know what you think. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. We're 10 episodes in now, and we want to just, you kind of get a feel for what we're doing, and just want to hear what you have to say.
That's a great plan. All right.
Awesome.
Then that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Julie, I will see you next time.
Alrighty. Thanks.
Did you like this episode? Please like and share it with your friends. We are on YouTube, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn. All the links are in the video description. If you have a question, head to codedeploygo.live where you can send it in. Also, sign up for our mailing list on our site at codedeploygo.live to learn about future episodes, opportunities for listeners, and get the show notes from each episode sent straight to your inbox. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks.